For the year 2020, I'm making a video review for every new movie I watch, whether in theaters or at home, and on February 15th, I watched My Best Friend's Wedding. Welcome to my year in movies. This is Talking to Myself. The Lighthouse, Parasite, Uncut Gems, Little Women, Beautiful, High Art, The Wedding Singer. Not high art, but I liked it a lot. And you know, I'm watching too many things I like. It's time to watch something that would make me angry, and something I knew would make me angry. And that is My Best Friend's Wedding. Cause, hoo boy, let's get into it. Julia Roberts plays 27-year-old Julianne Potter, living the best hot, young, single, New York in the 90s lifestyle. A job writing that we never see her do, that pays for a lavish apartment, where she lives alone, but she has a gay best friend. Poor Rupert Everett would not have any opportunity to play anything more than a gay best friend in the 90s. It's okay, buddy. Shrek 2 is coming. But Julia Roberts' character Julianne has a best friend named Michael, played by Dermot Mulroney, and they made a pact that if they turned 28 without having been married, that they would marry each other. That's what best friends are for. Convenient marriage partners. So when she receives a call from her best friend and he says, "Hey, I met someone, this is sudden, but we're getting married," she is supported, elated. She is willing to do anything for her best friend as he enters this exciting stage in his life. No, of course not. She doesn't do that. There'd be no movie if she did that. So she flies out to meet him. There's unspoken sexual tension. She meets his fiancée, a 20-year-old college student whose father owns the Chicago White Sox. And upon this discovery, she takes him aside, gently tries to explain that this sudden marriage to a much younger partner who comes from a lot of wealth could be seen as problematic, and it could damage things irreparably if he's not careful with it. That also doesn't happen. Of course she doesn't do that. No, because he is her best friend, and because she suddenly realizes that, yeah, she does love him. She takes it upon herself to do the only sensible thing. Sabotage the wedding from the inside out. Yeah. So not only is Julia Roberts' character terrible for sowing seeds of discord between this couple days before their wedding, a time that is supposed to be a celebration of love and is often very stressful because you're trying to balance multiple families, multiple facets of the day. Like, why? A. And B, not only is she trying to sabotage the relationship and the marriage, the wedding, all of that, she tries to sabotage her best friend's job by sending emails to his boss from his future father-in-law's computer to try and make it seem like his future father-in-law wants him to work for him instead. And it just, why? It's so selfish and irresponsible. We'll get to that. I know it's her character flaw, but I'm upsetty spaghetti about this. And on top of that, like, not only is she a terrible person, Dermot Mulroney's character is not exactly a ray of sunshine either. Like, when we first see the seeds of discord being sown in this young love, he's very abrasive to his fiancée, Cameron Diaz. Her character's name is Kimmy. It's honestly a miracle I remember anyone's character names, and I have the wiki sitting open in front of me. He just berates her in public at this restaurant and, like, is gaslighting and insufferable and just mean-spirited. And it's like, Kimmy's done nothing wrong. She's 20 years old and has done nothing wrong. She is just trying to get married and have a happy life while still maintaining a sense of independence. Because she's getting married at so young. Okay. And so Julianne's panicking because, you know, this whole thing is falling apart and he's gonna marry the 20-year-old and she needs to tell him that she loves him. So she calls her gay best friend in a panic and he flies all the way out to see her to talk some sense into her. No, he asks her, "Do you love him?" And I'm like, that's not the question. You need to ask. It's not the question. The question to ask is, do you hear yourself? Do you hear yourself advocating for the complete disintegration of this relationship? Do you realize that that makes you a terrible best friend? Just out of curiosity. Julia Roberts is like, "Oh, I'll just tell him I love him the day before the wedding. I have to let him know." And I'm like, no, I'm sorry. You missed your chance. You've had 7 years to find somebody else. He found somebody else. That's how it go. Be sad, move on. Do not foist the being sad and moving on ploy onto Kimmy's character. Kimmy 1, I'm sorry. Just move on. Be sad. Move on. So her gay best friend is out there to see her, and she has to give an explanation as to why he's there. So naturally, she's like, he's my fiance. Because of course. And it's just so awkward because Dermot Mulroney's character is like, oh, you're her fiance. You looked kinda gay. And Rupert Everett's character says, yeah, I like to pretend I'm gay. And I'm like, why? Wow. And so George and Julianne go to dinner with Michael and Kimmy's family and the wedding party and all that nonsense. And George has to lie about how he and Julianne met. And he starts singing a song. He starts singing I Say a Little Prayer. And everyone joins in. Like the end of a bad fake Reddit story. And everyone clapped. Okay. And, like, I was upset. I was upset when the musical number happened. Like, I am cool with musical numbers in non-musical films. That's allowed. Sometimes they're really cool and they help change up the pace. This just came out of nowhere and it kept going. It kept going. Alright. And so Julia Roberts' character has to be the maid of honor. Cameron Diaz's character had, like, a maid of honor and she had to drop out. So it's Julia Roberts' job to be the new maid of honor. And in her capacity as the maid of honor, she is responsible for holding onto the wedding band that is going to be used in the ceremony tomorrow. And so, as a good maid of honor, she puts aside her pride and she protects the ring and looks after it and makes sure it gets to the wedding on time. No, of course not. Of course she doesn't do that. She puts it on. She tries it on. And of course, since Kimmy's a tiny 20-year-old college student, it's made for a tiny 20-year-old college student. It doesn't fit Julia Roberts' 27-year-old hand. So, eventually, she has to go to Dermot Mulroney and be like, hey, the ring is stuck on my finger. And so he opts to use soap and water. He gets a string to, like, wrap around her finger and they just, like, loop it through. No. He puts her finger in his mouth and pulls off the ring with his tongue. I can't. I can't. Were there things that worked in this film? Yes, actually, surprisingly. There's a scene where they're having, like, their last, time together as best friends, as unmarried people. And they go on a ferry, and Dermot Mulroney admits to Julia Roberts that he and Cameron Diaz do not have a song. And he's like, yeah, I know we don't have a song, but, like, you and I have a song. And they start dancing while he sings Just the Way You Look Tonight. And it was honestly a really cute moment. Like, they don't have any background music, it's just him singing, and it was really pleasant for a bit. I liked that. The circumstances around the movie were terrible. It made me hate the moment, but it was cute, for what it was worth. And speaking of that song, they get to the wedding. Surprisingly, I was honestly surprised that Dermot Mulroney went through with the wedding. I was genuinely surprised. And at the wedding, Julia Roberts loans them the song she and Dermot Mulroney had. She arranges for the band to perform Just the Way You Look Tonight. And when tears pricked into my eyes, I realized that my body betrayed me, and I was very upset. But it was a genuinely beautiful moment. I have to give it credit for that. I was surprised at how sentimental that was. I was just upset, though. And Paul Giamatti, poor sweet Paul Giamatti. What are you doing here? Get out of this movie. I understand this is a bit part. Get out. You deserve way better than this movie. Get out. If I had to rate it, and I don't want to, I'd give it like a 1 out of 5. Maybe even a 0 out of 5. Like, it's not even that I hated it. Like, I did hate it. I didn't like large swaths of it, but it lacked even the true comedy I would want in a romantic comedy. Like, it's just upsetting. I get it. Like, that's part of her character growth, is learning to let go of her best friend. But at no point does she say, he is my best friend. Why am I putting my happiness ahead of his? Why am I assuming that I can be a better match for him than what he's found for himself? Like, just because we've been best friends and just because I know him as well as I do. Like, that doesn't give you the right to do that. I'm sorry. And I get it. Movies can be about terrible people. Movies can be about people making bad decisions. Like, one of my new favorite films this year is Uncut Gems, and that's a movie about a really terrible person making horrible decisions. Maybe it's because it was such small issues that she was making such a big deal over. Like, move on. Just move on. Yeah, we're just giving this a flat 0. My best friend's wedding gets a solid 0 out of 5. This was not fun. to watch, even. There is no ironic value in it. This is just not great. I don't think this is a worthwhile exercise. Anyway, I'll be back with a movie I enjoyed much more after this. This has been My Year in Movies. Thank you for watching.